Good morning to a blisterously hot day 112. Not even 7:30 yet, so only a couple of people on site. Thought I'd just have a quick walk around, show you what's been going on. Obviously I've been showing you brief bits, but I thought I'd have a quick walk around the whole property so you can have a quick look. Still have elements of rain everywhere, as you can see. Still a little bit boggy as well. So let's start by going inside if we can get over the bog. Okay, so as you can see, far more acros in here now. We've still got to make sure that they're all tight. Door frame's done. Loads more acros in here. We've got to get some sand in here as well, just to make sure that anything that we swept through that is now sandless has sand on it, just in case. Just in case, meaning if anything comes through, i.e. here, look, obviously where we've been sweeping out the water, if any concrete comes through, which it will do, then it's going to land up sitting on the concrete and setting. So if we put sand down, it'll stop that happening. Come up the rusty ladder. So this hole has now been recut, by the way, which I can show you. Showed you last night anyway. This is what the carpenter should have done in the first place. So it was along here. So obviously that's now been moved over by the relevant size now that we know where the room actually starts and finishes. Fingers crossed we won't need that little return, because that means we'll be going down into the basement on a little landing and going right. And I want the staircase to go straight, so that way that this is actually a built-in wardrobe, so that means that the wardrobe will also go straight as well and across and then back again. So that's now been done. Most of the actual air boxes, as we said last night, are actually been cut in and fixed. There's a few that still need to be done. All the pipe work and electrics that were in the wrong places, they've all been moved as well. Conduits all been moved, where the boxes are. And most of them have been fixed down. As I said just a minute ago, there's a couple that haven't been done for some unknown reason. So whether they've just been moved and need to be redone, I'm not too sure. Yeah, so it looks like at the moment that's been cut out, but for some reason it hasn't been fitted. So it's got to be fixed down. That one's been done, so I'm not too sure what's going on there. Things like that, as a perfect example, just get rid. It doesn't need to be up here, so that needs to go. We still need to obviously talk to the pool man about making sure that that gutter is definitely 100% in the right place. He's also got to put a cap in the end if he hasn't already, otherwise that's going to fill with concrete. So little tiny things to just finish things off got to be done. Then I'm going to talk to the guys today about making sure that whatever we do on here... Morning, Wayne. Anything that we do on here today has to be covered. We spent all day sanding down and then we shoot off and leave it without covering it, which is completely defeats the reason for doing it in the first place. So we've got to get that sprayed today. As you can see, it's a nice darker colour now. And you can see that's all bright orange, so it looks like we managed to get those 3 rooms sprayed. And if they did finish off these over here, which I'm not too sure if they did, they're still bright orange, so we need to finish off sanding those, get those sprayed, and I want all of this here done today. So, and then I also then want the spray, even though the sanding won't take place, I want the spray to continue out here. So I want all of this sprayed as well, even though it's not been out that long. That will just stop it from continuing. A little bit wind up with Tyson. You late again? Hmm? When? Yeah. Yeah. I missed you. You don't know me? Oh shit, sorry buddy. Leaving a local, making him walk, bless him. Didn't even see him. So yeah, apart from that, it's literally making sure this is all re-hoovered off to ensure that any of these little bits don't get stuck in the concrete. Respraying over there, obviously making sure that that's protected. Today's goal really is just getting all of this sanded and getting all of this treated. Once that's done, then we're pretty much done where that's concerned. And then today, one thing, as I said to you last night, what we're looking to achieve today is to try and get the the main foyer built up, which you can't really see here. This foyer here, trying to make sure we get that completely blocked up, full of marl. All the actual track, so tracks for power through here. We need to take water through here. We need to take air conditioning through here. We need to take gas through here. So we need to obviously channel out those and get all the conduits put in. And then once they're put in, we can then fill that space with marl. So that's one thing we've got to do. Then after that's done, we've got to take all this boxing off here, all the way along to there, and we've got to re-box it all the way around to the end. And then that is exactly the same height as this. So that will just be marl fill, and we do have quite a bit of marl there. I'm not too sure whether it's enough, but that also means we need a bobcat. So again, we've got to have a little bit of a plan today about what we're ordering, who from, and how it's going to happen to ensure that we can make sure that gets done. We have until Saturday, obviously, because the pour is Sunday. So once that's done, then it is literally is a case of pouring on Sunday. So fingers crossed, it will go as according to plan as possible. But I'm going to talk to the company that we're using today so that I can talk about their project management plan as to what they intend to do on Sunday, because turning up when they want and doing what they want is not ideal. So we ideally need to start pouring 7:30. There needs to be at least 2 separate concrete teams. We need to get the pump set up in the road as long as it can reach to the slab 1 and the slab 2, and they need to be pouring those at the same time. So in an ideal world, they would pour this with a team of guys. They would vibrate and obviously do their levelling off. Whilst they're doing that, the pump would move over to the other team, pour. They would do the same, and then that would then come back again. So back and forth between the 2 teams, so they can start working across. And as the far point starts curing, then they can start polishing. So it's probably 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours, but then they can start standing on it and polishing, and they can do the same over there. So as they're pouring across, they could also be following behind and polishing. So I'm going to talk to them this morning to ensure that they understand how we want it done, and hopefully they're singing from the same hymn sheet, and everything will be fine. So I'll check in with those, and I'll report back a bit later on. 10:15, quick update. Nice to see something different happening rather than rebar cleaning and all the other garbage. So we're actually bringing the foyer up to the same level as I said this morning to take all this boxing out. All these acros need to come out, and then we need to put the actual trunking or pipe work through for the electrics. We've now broken through for the air conditioning and the gas. We can take that to level, and then we can fill with marl. And then that boxing's then got to be re-erected around the outsides all the way down here. The rebar guys have got to build the beam across the top, and they've also got to do the boxing through the actual floor itself and connect to next door as well. The guys are still up there cleaning out the actual rebar as well, which they're working a bit slow, and they need to get their move on. We've got another 80 foot by 40 foot space to do, so that's going to take them a long time to do. Smithy obviously is trying to channel out all the bits needed, and then he's got to go into the basement and basically replicate what he's done here next door, but it's got to be an angle upwards. Obviously if water comes into the pipe work from this side, we can't afford for the water to go straight down into the basement, so they've got to be angled up in the air. So he's going to cut through the same but 1 block higher on the other side. Plumbers are upstairs looking like they're finishing off some of the actual feeds, 1 to the pump room, 2 to the shower. There's a shower up near the swimming pool, so they're putting hot and cold to that. The mixer's going obviously all day because these boys need mortar. Other than that, that's the main aim at the moment. We did actually now work out that the doorway's been put in the wrong place, as in the inner door. So we've got a 6 foot by 8 foot door going in there on a big pivot hinge. Originally it was going to be around about 7.5 foot down the foyer. So we've got 5 12 inch long by 6 inch high steps. So 5 steps will take us to the main foyer entrance, and then there'll be a further 3 inside, which will take us to around about a 4'4" gap, they call it landing, between there and the front door. So the front door will be roughly here somewhere, and then the foyer is one big long foyer. We're leaving block holes out here because this is where the main garage door and wall will end up connecting. So they'll have to connect those obviously all the way through and pour concrete through, as will it connect to the other end over there as well. So, and this is technically the length of the carport that will be on the front. So the same length wall will be over here, and there'll be an overhang that will be made out of some form of wood, begonia, whatever you want to call it, canopy. That will be a carport, and then the garage door will literally be on this line itself, obviously up and over and obviously into itself. We're also going to open up the back of the garage as well, so put some bifolds in the back so you can actually drive through into the rear garden as well. So that's the plan so far. So obviously with Sunday pour, so we've still got a long way to go. The guys are also spraying the treatment onto the steel as well, which is quite potent. So it's quite difficult for them to sand and spray because it nearly kills off the guys that are trying to sand. So we've actually reversed it today. So that rather than starting at that end with the wind and obviously killing the guys in front, they're actually now going to start at this end, sand down, move forward and spray to see whether that works better. So fingers crossed it will. And we've also, once this has actually been done, which hopefully Sunday will be poured, this will be moved Monday. This is all going to go into the container, and we're probably going to look at selling that if we don't use it later. But behind here we're going to be putting some electric vents in here, one in the middle, one at either end, driving the air through into the basement, through to the other side. A little bit more to discuss today, which is nice. It means that something's starting to move, so we need that to continue because we've got shed loads to do still until Sunday. So pour Sunday, so mega work and preparation needed badly. So let's see how the day goes. 4:10. Let's have a look what's going on. Boys are busy on the mixer. Bathroom to the main house. They call it WC. That's going to end up being through the foyer into the garage. So we're now doing the footing up the side of the foyer. Then we'll block up to the same level. A beam is going to be made all the way around here. The boxing will come over and both the beams and that floor will be poured at the same time. The entrances for the air conditioning and etc. has now been taken right through. Electrical side's been done as well. Garage wall comes to 10x8 here, which will integrate into this wall, so that's been left open. Front door will end up being here. And this is the landing. And then obviously step straight through. So garage will be the same level, but it will be a carport on the front. Guys are all upstairs spraying the steel. So I wish they listened to me first thing this morning because it would have been done by now. But instead it's going to be a late night, which I'll be telling them in a minute. The pool man is actually here as well. So he's up there finishing off his pipe work. So yeah, today we've managed, the new supervisors identified a few things we haven't done, which we're now cracking on with. That's meant a movement in different trades being on site and different work being undertaken, which is about bloody time. So pool man's finishing off, guys are scrubbing and finishing spraying the actual floor with the rust protector. Footing's being done for the toilet, that will be blocked up later on. We've got to put the actual pipe work through the walls themselves. And then we've got to then start filling with miles. So ideally we need a bobcat here. So ideally tomorrow we need a bobcat and probably a delivery of marl, we thought. So that will be for us to finish off filling this, and then the rebar guys have then got to start doing the beam across the top and the rebar that will go from that beam over to the other beam, and then the carpenters have then got a box out around the outside. We did have some blocks delivered today, which gave us enough blocks to do what we needed to do, which is good. But we're going to need shed loads of blocks on Monday, because after the pour, they're going to start blocking the house up. That's the plan anyway. So fingers crossed. And the tarp's finally back. So yeah, that's pretty much where we are so far. So fingers crossed. We are on track for Sunday. Okay, close of play. 5:20. Probably one of the latest nights I've had for quite some time. Let's have a quick look up here, what's actually happened. The poor man came and went. So I said the guys have actually been applying this stuff on the floor. They actually I've realised that they've been putting it down diluted, which is not what they're meant to do. So that it's non-diluted, it's actually going quite dark, which is good. And as you can see, it's quite light over there, so we'll probably have to get more. So we need to get that done, but it's definitely made a change to the floor, that's for sure. Need to get more of it. So we've got about another 10 loads of it coming tomorrow. The poor man came and did something, I'm not too sure what he was doing. Hopefully he was finishing off. Still got quite a bit to do when that's concerned. So we're actually going to spray all of this tomorrow as well. Yeah, it looks like he's hung all of it now. So you've got the T-junction going into the irrigation tank. He's got caps on the ends. And he's taking it down as well. So that could be quite good. Let's have a quick look. Okay, yeah, so he's capped off the ones that don't need to go out, and then he's now taken those down. And I'm under the impression that comes down now and will come out into the bottom of the trough into the water itself. So there should be, hopefully, a foot stroke 2 foot of water. And the pipe will come out into the water so you won't see it. So any water that's going to land up coming from the pool area will go straight off the side into the gutter, and then will pour straight into the trough, and the trough will then be sucked through into the pump room and then blown back out via those pipes and the jets, which is quite handy. The other side's actually done as well, so I'll quickly show you that. And what we're actually doing here, I think we've already talked about it, but I'll just quickly show you again. All of this is going to be a patio, so it's a 10-foot wide patio area. But we've got to get the runs right, so we need to make sure that the run for rainwater, both left and right, is correct, and then the run for pool water, both left and right, is correct. If I show what you mean. So at this present time, this one here obviously is going to be the pool water, so obviously it's going to be sloped up and sloped back, so that you actually capture the rainwater in a bit of a trough. And at the same time for here, it'll be the same thing. It'll also then slope down for the rainwater and slope back up for the rainwater. So any rain coming from the patio area this way runs down, but any rain landing here comes down as well. So it's trying to make sure the rainwater is kept separate than the pool water. And all of them are obviously fed all the way around into the tanks. So the rainwater goes into the irrigation tank, so you can just see through there's a T-junction. So just behind that bit of wood there's a T-junction that goes straight into the irrigation tank. So anything gutter-wise that's caught along there goes straight into the irrigation tanks. When the irrigation tanks are full, there's a little well, they call it a suck well, I think it is, it's over there. So literally that will overspill into the suck well, obviously, which will then go out and disperse into the land. This pipe, exactly the same as this side. As you can see, it's got a 90 on the end. That's going to go straight through into here and then come out the bottom into the trough and then be sucked back in via the pump and come out via the jets here and on the floors. So that's pretty much where we are with that. All of the air conditioning boxes, he says, there's one's right in front of him, have been put down and fixed. Tomorrow we have to do the door tracks. So this is going to be roughly a 10-foot pocket here. And then where that rebar is there, it will finish. And then from there, we've got 30-foot doors going to the pillar, and then an opposite mirror effect on the other side with the same doors. What we've got to do now is build a wooden track all the way along this whole 40 feet, even into the pocket, because the door track itself for the doors needs to be sat down into that concrete so that the actual inside surface and the outside surface is flush. So we've got to build that wooden track all the way along. We've got to do the same for the front bifolds. There's 4 of those. There's one there, one there, one there, and one there. So we're going to build that all the way along there. So when the concrete is poured, as is going to happen with this, the concrete is going to pour, and the concrete will come along here, and it will literally sit. I'll try and get where my hands are. The concrete will come along and sit up against here, and then obviously come down by 2 inches. So this is where the actual deck will be. The deck will sit up against the concrete once it's finished all the way along. It's going to be the same effect for the doors over here. the concrete will come along to the doors, the track will go down, the door track will sit in it, and then the inside surface will be flush. And we'll have a run on this. In there will be flat, obviously, and he'll have a slight run down towards the actual drainage, which is obviously here. So that's not rocket science, but very easy to get wrong. So if we don't get it right, then we're going to start having water going everywhere and coming in the house and not going in the right drain, and it's going to be a nightmare. So fingers crossed they're going to get that right. And so far, without being rude, every time I've said, you know what you're doing, crack on, there's always been a shit, let's rectify that, let's dig this up. So I think tomorrow I need to take a little bit more control on making sure that they do what they need to do on that. Great to see that this still is actually black again. Standing over a bit they did. So you've only got to look at the colour here. I mean, this is only 2 weeks here. I mean, that's 6 weeks. Look at the state of that. And now look at it after we've sanded it down and actually treated it. It's going dark. So we've got to do that across all of it. Mainly this, because this has been out for 6 weeks. So it's literally sanding it down, treating it, and hopefully making sure that we prevent any more rust taking place. We have a leak. Where do we have a leak? Do we have a leak at the top, or do we have a leak at the bottom? At the top. Brilliant. Is it push fit or is it screw? Oh, it's screw and it's been undone. Jesus. Live issue, eh? How many people saw that leaking today and did nothing about it? Anyway, at least you can prove there's water actually getting to it today. It means that the plumber actually did connect it and it is live, and we will eventually be able to have baths and whatever else. So anyway, it's been a more positive today. I think it's mainly because I brought a new supervisor in. He's pushed things a little bit harder. He suggested some of the things that we haven't done, which has obviously spurred on some more work. We've obviously been achieving a few things as well, which is good. So finishing some things that we've been starting. So it does change the feeling of the job, even though we still have a lot of work to do, and still a couple of reasonably tall mountains to climb for Sunday. At least things are moving in the right direction and new things took place rather than being the same bloody Groundhog Day. So anyway, anyone out there doing a build on the island, if anybody has any questions or anyone wants any help, please let me know. I'm more than happy to share my run of luck I've had, which so far has been all right, but isn't going quite according to plan. And fingers crossed I can get back on top of this and we can get in the right direction.